Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast. And for today's episode, we'll be talking about the Sacramento Kings. Okay, so for today's episode, we'll be talking about the Sacramento Kings as continuation of our team preview series for the NBA 2020-2021 season that will be starting on December 22. Again, for those who want to follow the podcast, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also catch the podcast on Spotify and Anchor and also Google Podcasts. Now, there are certain episodes that are exclusively available on Spotify and Anchor, such as the loyalty episode and the Derek Rose episode. And then there are also episodes that are exclusively available only on YouTube, such as the team preview series. Okay, so let's start off with this one. Okay, so what are the main storylines for the Sacramento Kings? They still have the Aaron Fox. He just signed an extension to stay with the Kings. They still have Marvin Bagley, the second pick of the 2018 draft. In spite of all of the trade rumors, Buddy Hield is still very much with the Sacramento Kings. They did lose Bogdan Bogdanovic. Then, during the draft, they were able to land Tyrese Halliburton, who's regarded as probably the steal of the draft. They got Hassan Whiteside back. So Hassan Whiteside started his career with the Kings. He's now back in Sacramento. And they also added Frank the Tank Kaminsky. Okay, so those are the main storylines for the Sacramento Kings. Now let's look at the numbers for the Kings. Okay, so these are the numbers for the Kings. Under Luke Walton, they actually had a 31-41 record. That was 12th best in the NBA Western Conference. They won. They won their last game. That was against the eventual champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. Vlade Divac is no longer with them. They now have a new GM. Now, Luke Walton, who also came from the Warrior system of Steve Kerr, he also was the former coach of the Lakers. So we know what his style is. He wants to implement a run and gun system. Let's look if it worked. They were only 20th in pace. So that's the first thing that you will look at. And then their points per game, they were only 22nd. Defensively, their opponent's opposition points per game, they were 17th. Their offensive rating was 18th. They were 18th in the league. And as for their defensive rating, they were only 20th. Their expected win-loss was 31-41, which was eventually their record. So they at least were able to live up to the expectations. Attendance wise, as we have seen, of course, if the team is not winning, fans tend to not watch as well. So they were 27 in attendance, in spite of the fact that they're now playing, of course, at the Golden One Center. So now let's proceed to their schedule. So this is the schedule of the Sacramento Kings. They'll be playing the Portland Trail Blazers at the Moda Center. Those are their first two preseason games, and then they will be playing the Golden State Warriors at the Golden One Center to end their preseason. Now let's look at the key additions of the team. Okay, so these are the key additions of the Sacramento Kings. They added Hassan Whiteside, who they drafted 10 years ago, by the way. And then Glenn Robinson III, People thought he'll be going to the Lakers, but he ended up with the Kings. They also brought in Frank the Tank Kaminsky. Well, we know Frank has, the very typical great college player, but his game didn't translate that well in the pros. They added also former Spur Chimezi Medu. They drafted Tyrese Halliburton in the lottery, which, they were very lucky because Halliburton was supposed to go higher than 12. He was like projected to be 6, so he landed with the Kings. Then in the second round, they drafted Jamias Ramsey and Robert Woodard. So we don't know if these guys will make it or will they get a typical two-way contract for second rounders. Now let's go to their key returning players. So the Kings have a young core already. In the 2017 draft, they landed De'Aaron Fox, who has really become a young emerging star for them. He got the max contract as well, max extension for the young player, right? I think that's after their rookie deal. And then Marvin Bagley the third. Well, we're still waiting on him. He's been injury prone. It's not helping the fact that they could have drafted Luka Doncic or Trae Young, but the first Luka was really the guy that they could have drafted. They opted for Marvin Bagley. Harrison Barnes is still with them. Solid bet. Nemanja Bjelica, silently producing numbers. A very reliable stretch for Buddy Hield. Had a good season, but of course there were a lot of rumors that he wanted out. They also got Jabari Parker from the Hawks. So Parker, after those 2 ACL injuries, it's like he never really got a chance his career never took off because of that. But the guy can still score though. And then they still have Corey Joseph, the former point guard for the Spurs and the Raptors. And former Sixer, Rashawn Holmes, is still with them. So let's now look at the stats. So let's go to their team stats. So, ironically, even if Luke Walton is really known for, going for the run and gun, pace and space kind of thing, they were only 22nd in points. And then, at least, though, they really shot the ball well from three-point distance. They shot 36.4%, and that was 12th in the league. And they were also 15th in field goal percentage. Now, when it comes to their rebounding, that has to improve. They were only 27th. And their assists, they were only 21st. Blocks, they were 27th. Now, let's look at their defense. Surprisingly, their defense, they were actually 17th when it comes to their points allowed per game. Their opponents, their defense wasn't that bad. It's not elite, but it's not that bad as well. Like, their opponents just shot 36% from 3 and 47% from the field. And they scored 112 points, which is 17th. Not that bad. That's why they won 31 games. So now let's look at their advanced stats. So again, their offensive rating was 18th and defensive rating 20th. Again, the surprising number is the fact that they were only 20th in pace in spite of having the kind of system that Luke Walton is implementing into this team. And of course, they have De'Aaron Fox, arguably one of the quickest guards in the NBA. And because they're not really winning that much, not making the playoffs, people are not really that sold with the Kings and, missing out on guys like Luka Doncic. So they were 27th in league attendance. Now let's look at the numbers of their individual players. Of course, they don't have some of these guys anymore. They don't have Ken Bazemore. Bogdan Bogdanovic is gone. Who else? Trevor Ariza is no longer with them. Dwayne Dedman is no longer with them. Alex Len is no longer with them. Harry Giles is no longer with them. So let's just focus on those guys that they still have. Harrison Barnes averaged 14 and a half and 5 boards. Of course, Harrison Barnes is getting paid a lot of money, but it seems like this is really the ceiling for Harrison Barnes, right? You know, when he came out of high school, he was the number one ranked player. Everyone thought he was going to be the next big thing. It never quite turned out that way. He's a solid player, but not a superstar player in any sense, not even an all-star. This is the guy that has the potential to be a major star, De'Aaron Fox. 21.1 points, 6.8 assists. And still, though, you know, when De'Aaron came out of Kentucky, I was worried about the shooting. It's still a problem. 29% from deep. That's not really going to cut it, right? Because he can't just be driving all the time, in spite of the fact that he's really one of the quickest guards in the league. Thankfully for them, they do have Buddy Hield, who averaged 19 for them, right? So this is not, I'm not trying to question Buddy Hield here or anything, but I don't really know if he still wants to stay here. By the way, these are the stats that I'm talking about. So Buddy Hield did shoot 39%. A lot of teams are interested in acquiring Buddy Hield. So we don't really know if he's going to be staying here. And then Bogdanovic, of course, is already gone. He's now with the Hawks. Rashawn Holmes had a very good year. 12 points per game, 8 rebounds. Of course, Holmes is not known for his three-point shooting. Did not even take a three. So, you know, for a former second-round pick, he's really found his niche here. This is the guy I'm talking about, Bielicha. 11.5 points, 6.4 rebounds. And look at this, 41.9% from deep. So that's very important. Marvin Bagley, you know, it's not like the 14 points and 7.5 boards are bad. It's just that he only played 13 games. Out of those 13 games, he started only 6. And Marvin Bagley is not really a guy who can hit those threes. He only shot 18% in those 13 games. And of course, it doesn't also help that Trae Young is averaging 29, Luka Doncic is an MVP candidate, and those guys were available when they drafted Marvin Bagley at number 2 way back in 2018. So nothing against Marvin Bagley. It just so happened that the guys that went after him have transformed themselves into not just good young players, but superstar players for that matter. Okay. So let's now proceed to my thoughts and predictions for the Sacramento Kings. So I don't really know if the Hassan Whiteside deal would be significant enough or the Frank Kaminsky deal would be significant for them. But I think Tyrese Halliburton can be a difference maker. It will also, if they don't really want to commit to Buddy Hield, it will make Buddy Hield expendable as well. So they're probably hoping they can get a pick for him or a veteran player. Most likely they're going to target a pick, a first round pick. The upcoming drafts in both 2021, 2022, 2023, they're all loaded. So of course, those are very valuable picks. So that's probably, you know, the silver lining there for the Kings. But again, I don't really know if they improved. You know, I don't know how they can take the next step from being the 31-41 team that they were last year, losing Bogdanovic. Let's say Halliburton has a good season, but he's just practically replacing the numbers of Bogdanovic. And we don't even know if he can produce that much as well. Marvin Bagley is the key here. If Marvin Bagley can become the guy that we all thought he would be, you know, the number one projected player out of high school. He reclassified, and that's the reason why he was able to enter the 2018 draft. because he was able to go to Duke a year earlier. If Marvin Bagley can stay healthy and start showing what he can really do in the league, then that can be the difference maker for them, because that will give the Aaron Fox another guy. You don't expect Harrison Barnes to be doing more than what he could. Buddy Hield, we're not, again, I've been talking about it. He's not, we're not sure if he's really into this, right? Or he wants to get traded. So we're looking at the Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, and they're hoping Tyrese Halliburton can be, the rookie that everyone envisions him to be. And then the interior presence of Hassan Whiteside hopefully can help. Frank Kaminsky can probably help. But to be very, very honest, when it comes to the predictions, especially with the numbers as well, unless there's like a miraculous growth again out of, let's say, Marvin Bagley, I'm not really seeing them moving like towards the playoffs. They're probably still projected to win around 30 to 33 games. So my predictions for them is that their best case scenario, of course, is for them to make the 8th seed, meaning they made it to the playoffs. But then their worst case scenario is probably second to the last in the West, or similar to where they are, right? 12th in the West, something like that. The play-in tournament can help them, because at least that will give them a chance to win if ever they make it to the play-in tournament. So we don't really know how that's going to work yet, but again, the lack of significant improvement from the Kings makes me think that I don't really think there's going to be like also significant change with their standings or with their winning percentage, just especially because I didn't really add anyone who could, turn their fortunes around. Okay, so let's now go to the shout outs. So again, just quick shout outs to Jonas de Guzman, super supportive, my former student, how many years back? Like I think 9 years ago, something like that. And also Cyril Banjola. Of course, the last time I saw him, he was already in college. And also my former student, so I was informed that they were very, that they're always watching the YouTube videos and listening to the podcast. So many thanks to you guys, Jonas and Cyril. And so with that, again, if you like the episode there, you can like and share the video. And then when you're done, you can share your thoughts by commenting whatever you think or your thoughts about the Kings or the episodes. And then, of course, after that, please do not forget to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. And if you want to follow more of those of our episodes, then you can click also on the notification bell so that you can follow all the episodes of the podcast. So that is it for today's preview episode. We'll see you again on the next preview episode of the Dropping Dimes podcast by J.I. Dimes. Keep safe, everyone.